The clerk will please read the next bill.
Senate Bill 1038 relating to standards of time.
Recognize Senator Thatcher.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, before you shut your ears and think, oh, I've heard this one before, no. Let me give you a minute of my time. Just listen to me for a minute. This is different. This is different. And what I heard in 2023, many of you were here, is that not only do you want to not have Oregon go it alone, you want to be in sync with the other Pacific time zone states. And a number of you prefer daylight savings time. A number of you prefer permanent standard time. And a number of you like to keep flipping the clocks back and forth. Well, guess what? All three of these things are in this bill. All three possibilities are here. And it's because we have basically door number one is leaving the clocks flipping and flopping in the spring and fall from now until who knows when. And then we have the possibilities of door number two being daylight saving time. We passed a bill in 2019 that allowed for permanent daylight savings time, but only if California and Washington passed a similar bill. Now, so far, Washington has passed their bill to allow for daylight savings time if California and Oregon also do so. Now, this also requires an extra step of having Congress approve. So we're at the stage right now where to go to daylight savings time, we are waiting on California and Congress, and it's anybody's guess on who would actually act first, because it is amazing to me that even though the voters of California back in, I don't know, 2018, 19, somewhere in, I think it's 2018, voted to stop changing their clocks, their legislature has not acted upon that one way or the other. They're just leaving it sitting there. So we're waiting for California. We're also waiting for Congress. I don't know which one's going to happen. But also, there is the possibility, because it does not require congressional approval, there is the possibility that Washington would pass a bill to say, let's go to standard time if Oregon does and California does, because they want to keep the Pacific time zone together as well. And then California could also decide to go to standard time. And I in my heart of hearts, believe that California, if they want to go to standard time, they would just do it. Who cares what Oregon's doing? I really don't think they would care. But we in Oregon and Washington said, we'll wait for California and Congress to approve it. But with the standard time, you wouldn't have to have that, and then we would have to wait for just to keep us all in sync. And this bill gives us the highest possible chance of stopping the switch, but it does not do anything yet. It waits for these other entities over which we have zero control, just to ensure we stay in sync with them. That's all this does. So I appreciate your aye vote, and if you have any questions, and also I just want to make it very clear, this only affects the part of the state that's in the Pacific time zone. There is a small part of the state in the Mountain time zone, and they requested to be left alone, but they also wanted to go with whatever Idaho does, but they couldn't put that into this bill. That would be a separate bill. And if that's still the route they would want to go, staying on the same time as Idaho, fine. Okay, I'm getting a head nod here from our esteemed former Senator, that is the direction they would want to go. But that would have to be in a separate bill, and I'd also support that too. But this bill only deals with the Pacific time zone, and I just appreciate your aye vote. And please ask me any questions, even if you haven't gotten to me ahead of time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Is there discussion on the measure? Recognize Senator Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And first of all, this is a little bit challenging because I am rising in opposition to Senate Bill 1038. However, believe it or not, I do that with a heavy heart because I really value my relationship with the good senator from District 11, who is truly a lovely person. And I don't know that I've ever stood in opposition in this format like this in at least the 10 years I've been here, the good senator from District 11 has been here longer than I have. So colleagues, the reason why I am not in support of this is that I have a really simple argument. This is about joy. This is literally about preserving joy in our great state. We choose to live in the Pacific Northwest. No matter what we do, it is going to be rainy and cold through the winter. I think we all agree on that. And then we have that moment that comes when the summer comes, and then all of a sudden we can have late summer nights. And I don't know about all of you, but although my activities have changed, but when I was in my 20s, my husband, my boyfriend at the time, and my friends and I, we'd go camping right after work, hike into the campsite, thinking about all the fun things we did. And then when my children were young, we would go swimming after work and et cetera. And then as the different decades of our lives, we end up enjoying different things. And during the summer, we enjoy those long summer nights. What I don't like is running the risk that we would give up permanent daylight savings time. So I appreciate what the good senator from District 11 is saying, is that this is about opening the door to have the option. But the reason why I am a no on this bill, and I encourage a no vote, is that giving any possibility that we would have permanent standard time and giving up our late summer nights, which would then result in it being, yes, lighter early in the morning, but I don't know about all of you, but I commend anyone here who's having a barbecue or a party at 4 a.m. If that's going to happen, please invite me. I will try to come. But I don't find it highly likely that people are going to go around and socialize at 4 a.m. Most of the time, people are going to be socializing in the evening. I also want to, on a more serious note, emphasize what the impact would have on tourism in our state. I did a little bit of research, and according to Travel Oregon, we bring in $14 billion in 2022 for tourism. And there's a couple senators, one sitting very close to me, one sitting very far away from me, who are really very big fans of golf. They really like golf. And I want to have it noted that the golf industry is also very, I'm not a golfer, but they're very opposed to this measure as well, because they want to preserve the long summer nights. The impact on tourism is very real. The other thing that's very serious, and we heard this in testimony, is the impact on our older community and anybody who has challenges driving. We have a very serious issue, not just here in Oregon, but across the country, where older people have to stay home in the winter because they can't drive at night. And this gives them the opportunity in the summer to be able to go to friends' house, go visit children, grandchildren, et cetera, and to be able to drive in the evening more safely. Colleagues, I really encourage a no vote at this time. And I think we need to be really transparent with Oregonians about what we're doing here today. I don't like the idea of that it could be any of these three options. If we were only voting on permanent daylight savings, then I would say, okay. But that's not what we're doing. And running the risk of having permanent standard time and giving up, again, what I'm not joking when I say joy. I would like to know who's having a great time on, January 23rd at 6 o'clock at night when it's dark out. Are you really sitting outside convening with your friends? Are you really going camping? Are you really doing any of those things? I highly doubt it. I may be having my girlfriends over to my house to hang out for a little bit, but that's about it. But in the summer, we're doing activities in the evening, and we're sitting around enjoying each other's companies. And for goodness sakes, we are Oregonians. We love the outdoors. We live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. And to limit the access to be able to be outside and enjoy all the fruits of Oregon in the evening, to me, seems like a decision we should make very carefully. So it is with a heavy heart, and I'm hoping that the good senator of District 11 will vote with me. Don't think that's going to happen, but I would love it. So if you believe in joy and you want to have happiness for Oregonians in the summer, please vote no, and let's reconsider this measure at another time, and let's fight to have permanent daylight savings time. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator President.
Thank you, Senator. Is there additional discussion on the measure? Recognize Senator Golden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to commend the persistence and flexibility of the good senator from District 11. I engaged with her last session. Was it only one session? As she's come up with different renditions of this bill. And this is one where I'm really trying hard to reflect the views of my constituents, and have I heard from a lot of constituents on this one. I don't know if there's another issue where I've gotten as many individually written communications. People have some opinions on this. And while there's a robust and fascinating argument among those favoring permanent daylight savings and permanent standard time, There's really a lot of consensus in my district on 2 points. And I told the good senator if they could be met, that I would sign on to this bill. And the 2 are these. 1, let's stop switching time. Don't want to switch time anymore. It's confusing, it's disrupting. Let's go to one or the other. And 2, let's be the same as California. My district abuts the California state line. I have no small number of folks who cross the line, the state line, cross all kinds of lines, cross the state line daily during the week, and they need it to be, the time to be the same. So the senator rewrote her bill to meet those 2 criteria. I think they probably, with everything that's in it, I'm not sure how soon or if we're actually going to implement a time change with all the conditions on it. But because she did meet those 2 conditions, I support and ask for your support for this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Additional discussion. Recognize Senator Bonham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have found it interesting over the past few years voting on originally the measure to move to daylight savings time, and then ultimately last 2023, I think we voted on the standard time. As soon as you put your mark in the sand, oh my gosh, the floodgates of the emails are torn down, and the people that disagree with you are outspoken. You like daylight savings time? I'll tell you why that's a terrible idea, let me tell you. You like standard time? Whoo, I've got an equal opinion about that. The internet, solid source of information, will tell you that the health risks and the productivity from time changing is a significant factor. Now, depending on which group wants which time frame to be honored, they will argue against the other. But I think it is the switching of time that we all can agree drives that productivity and those health risk changes, whether you like an extra hour in the evening. Golfers apparently have weighed in. I didn't know that, but golfers have apparently weighed in that they like the extra hour in the summertime. I love the extra hour in the summertime. Parents have weighed in. Ooh, don't send my child to school in the darkness of morning. But the one thing that I want to reiterate that the good senator from the Rogue Valley mentioned is that we want to align with our neighbors. I don't think we want to be an hour ahead or behind Washington or California. I do think the consideration of Eastern Oregon with our friends in Idaho is a significant one left out of this measure. At the same time, there is no way we should misalign or disalign with our colleagues to the north and south of us. So I will support this measure, not because I have a specific preference. Let the email floodgates open on that one. I'm sure I'll hear about, I should have a preference, I'm sure, according to the people that like standard or daylight savings times. But I do want to align, and so I'm going to rise in support of this to stay with California and Washington, knowing that one could happen with just the 3 states aligned, knowing that another could happen with the 2 other states and us aligned and congressional approval. But either way, I want to stay on the same Pacific Coast time with our colleagues and neighbors to the north and south.
Thank you, Senator. Is there additional discussion? Recognize Senator Robinson.
I too strongly support this bill. I think the senator from the Mount Hood region emphasized it very well. It is, of course, very important that we stay aligned with Washington and California, and that's exactly what the bill does. From a scientific perspective, I like standard time, and I think we can adjust for, this has to do with the convention about when businesses are open. But the bill aligns us with our neighbors. I like that, and I strongly urge a yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Additional discussion. Recognize Senator Brock-Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I rise in support of Senate Bill 1038. I appreciate the good senator from District 11 for working on this. I agree with the majority of all the conversations, and I just wanted to put on the record that I support this bill, and I still, too, believe in joy.
Thank you, Senator. Is there additional discussion? Recognize Senator Campos.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition to the bill today. And unlike the senator from Southeast Portland and Milwaukee, today, instead of talking about joy, one of the things I want to talk about is SAD, seasonal affective disorder. So we know that a number of folks in Oregon, that folks in Oregon disproportionately deal with this because of the limited daylight that we have, the cold, rainy seasons, and to think about having time where we're losing, and I'm going to say this way and I'll correct it because I have had one of my colleagues correct me, but I'm going to say that we're losing daylight in the summer just doesn't feel like it makes a whole lot of sense when we're talking about the fact that people's mental health is already impacted by the conditions in the state of Oregon with regards to weather. I say losing daylight hours, and I recognize that we will have that time earlier in the day, and I have had folks say, well, why don't you just be a morning person? I gotta tell you all, I have to be a morning person, whether or not I like it. I've got an 8 a.m. committee. I'm up at 4:45 in the morning. But, you know, on the weekends when I'm awake, because I'm on the same hourly schedule that I am during the weekdays, and I'm thinking to myself, I could use a snack, I could use a nice treat. I go to look at what business hours are, and most things don't open particularly early, which means that that's time in the evening that people, or that's a loss, you know, that's an impact on our businesses because folks aren't going to frequent places as much in the evenings if it's, and I'm a little all over the place, I swear. Yesterday I wrote a few notes down to keep myself cohesive, but we're just going with it. So business hours are as they currently are. We're not going to ask all of our businesses to shift our hours to accommodate so that folks can go at 5 in the morning somewhere. Most folks, particularly in the summers, are going out, getting a nice thing of shaved ice in the evenings, enjoying the summers, which leads me to my next point. One of the things that I heard about the last time we had a discussion around this were particularly folks that are elderly who expressed their concern with having with it getting darker earlier on summer days because they felt that they would not be able to go out and enjoy the full day because a number of the emails that I received from folks shared that they are not comfortable with driving in the dark. And so these are folks that might otherwise be frequenting businesses, and so this is a loss of revenue to them. This is an increase in sadness. But I'm saying all of this to say that while the bill doesn't necessarily say that it isn't prescriptive to having one or the other, it is more likely that we would end up in standard time because it doesn't have that congressional approval need. And so I wanted to stand up and note that as, you know, somebody who is still in my 20s and going out and enjoying all sorts of different activities, the summer barbecues and all of that, since, again, the good senator from Southeast Portland and Milwaukee did note that and the importance of all sorts of different activities at different ages. And so I just thought I would stand up and share why I will be opposing the bill today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Additional discussion. Recognize Senator Sollman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise today in support of Senate Bill 1038. Short and sweet. I really appreciate the work of the good senator from District 11 in making sure that really listened to the last disagreements that we had regarding time changes, where the bulk of the discussion on this floor was about, well, how confusing is it going to be if Oregon changes their time here, but Washington doesn't, and so on and so forth. And she took those comments to heart. And she said, right now, what we're going to do is simply say that all 3 West Coast states must pass a bill in order for this to be implemented. That nothing changes unless all 3 states are on board with one time or another, and it will keep us in sync, which I think primarily was the biggest argument on this floor. And I appreciate her work on that. It doesn't lock us into anything right now. It says we're going to look at how Oregon, Washington, California can work in alignment with the time zone so there wouldn't be confusion. And for that, I just say, please, I urge and I vote for Senate Bill 1038. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Seeing no additional members in the queue, Senator Thatcher, do you wish to close? She does.
Why, yes, I do. Thank you. So, yes, I also believe in joy. And this bill has the highest percentage chance of preserving joy in the evening because we either continue doing what we're doing now, I'm talking about summer months, by switching the clocks to daylight savings time in the spring, back in the fall, or the other door would be getting permanent daylight savings time, which this bill extends the sunset from what we passed in 2019 by an additional 6 years. So it would sunset in 2035. And then the one chance that there'd be of having more joy in the morning is where we might pass permanent standard time. But I can't say which one of these would happen, but I do know that this bill gives us the highest percentage chance of ditching the switch. But which switch to ditch is going to be up to some other entities outside of our control. But we just want to make sure we line up. Now, the other thing is businesses and golfing associations in California and Arizona. California has a fairly early sunset compared to Oregon. Arizona has a fairly early sunset, regardless of them following standard time. Hawaii has a fairly early sunset. It does not stop people from going out and shopping and getting together and enjoying their warm summer evenings in Hawaii and all these other places. So regardless of what we do in the winter, what we name the clock time, it's going to be dreary in Oregon. It'll be gloomy because even in the middle of the day, it could be cloudy and rainy and you have to turn on your lights inside. I mean, that's just the way it is here in Oregon, regardless of which time standard we observe, whether we continue, doing what we're doing and go to door number 1 or go to door number 2 with the daylight savings time or go to door number 3 with the permanent standard time. All I know is this will increase the chances of having to finally stop switching our clocks. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The question now rises upon the third reading and final passage of Senate Bill 1038. Those who have the opinion the bill should be passed when their ayes or names are called. Those opposed, no. The clerk will please call the roll.
McLean. Meek. Meek. Nash. Patterson. Pham.
Senator Pham.
Przonski. Reynolds. Robinson. Brock Smith. Sollman. Starr. Taylor. Thatcher. Weber. Woods. Anderson. Bonham. Broadman. Campos. Frederick. Gelser-Bluen. Gerard. Golden. Gorsuch. Hayden. Jama. Jama. Lieber. Linthicum. Manning. President Wagner.
Aye.
Excused: Woods. Voting nay: Campos, Frederick, Gelser-Bluen, Gerard, Hayden, Jama, Lieber, Manning, Pham, Reynolds, Taylor. 18 ayes.
Senate Bill 1038, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.